I think having just this watch and not the Pace 2 as well, I would probably, with all my activities, be more in the Hey everyone, and welcome back on the channel. My name is Alex, and in today's video we are discussing the Coros Vertix 2. Quick disclaimer, this watch was sent to me by Coros, but they're not paying me for this review and I am not keeping the watch after it, just so you know. And if you want to buy some Coros watches, I will put links in the description for this one, but also for other watches, and these links help the channel, so thanks a lot for purchasing your Coros watch through them. Let's begin with the beginning. You receive your Vertix 2 in this very nice little case. It's super solid, super nice. Actually, I don't think it's really necessary to have such a nice case for a watch, but I really appreciate the effort that Coros is putting together for having this. If I were to keep the watch, which is not the case again, I would keep the case for something else and use it, I don't know, maybe for travels, keeping some items in that, maybe some outdoor sports activities. I would take it with me, if I'm afraid to break my camera or I don't know, something like that. I would figure it out, but it's a really nice case. Next, we're looking at the form factor, and as you may know, I have a tiny wrist, not super large. This watch is actually quite large. It's a big watch. You have on your screen right now the comparison between this one and the Coros Pace 2, for which I also have a review here on the channel, upper right hand corner. So as you can see, really the Pace 2 is much smaller, works better for smaller wrists or maybe female wrists. It's also way thinner. I think that's quite important to know when you're purchasing a watch, how it will look on your wrist, not just for aesthetics, but also how it will actually feel, when you have it on. That's a good segue to discuss the weight of the watches. And here for the Vertix, we're looking at something shy of 90 grams, if I remember well, but you have the measurement on your screen right now. It's almost 3 times as much as the Pace 2, which is 29-30 grams. Again, something to consider. At the beginning, I was really feeling the weight, switching from the Pace 2 to this one for the test. After a few days, I just forgot about it. It's a matter of, experience and getting used to it. But the weight difference between this watch and smaller watches is actually quite big, so I think it's good for you to know. Next thing that you need to know is the buttons. You have 3 of them. 2 of them are push buttons, regular push buttons like you may have on other watch brands, and one is a crown that goes up and down, and this crown is actually working quite well. However, I found myself moving it without wanting to, and that happened essentially when it was covered with stuff or when I was moving my wrist, and that was a bit annoying. I know you can lock it, and I did it. I think Coros could solve this by moving the crown to the top of the watch, like on the Pace 2, and then it would avoid some unnecessary actions with the crown. So it's nice to use. You have that nice sort of haptic feedback when you are using it, and it's quite, I appreciate it. I don't think it has that much added value compared to regular buttons. If it does, like on the Pace 2, it's because of a good placement, and then you're not bothered by it. Battery life, and this is a big topic for the Vertix 2. The battery life is just amazing. I received the watch with, I think, 71%. It was 3 weeks ago. It now has 9%. I used it quite a lot, 3-4 times a week, switching between this one, the Pace 2, and of course my bike computers for cycling. In total, I would say it has probably somewhere around 12 to 15 hours of GPS activity. So it lost about 62% of battery life for 3 weeks, which would give it around 4 weeks of battery life with my type of use. I think having just this watch and not the Pace 2 as well, I would probably, with all my activities, be more in the 3 weeks of total battery life. And also, I don't really like to go that low, 9%. I prefer to, recharge it when it's at around 20%. But still, I think the battery life is quite amazing. And for people interested in a watch that they can just forget about and charge as little as possible, this is a very good choice. Fifth thing that you need to know about the Vertix 2 is about the menus. You have essentially 3 of them. One is for the activities, where you can pick the activity that you want to do: running, cycling, triathlon, rowing, skiing, walking. Now Coros also has that. Tons of activities, and that's the first menu. Second menu is the one that you get when scrolling down the main crown, and there you have sort of your summary of everything: performance, sleep, heart rate, temperature, your elevation, the barometric pressure. This is all in one menu. It's looking really good, and that's actually when it's quite enjoyable to use that crown going down through the menus. Finally, the last one is sort of the back office menu where you have the controls for the settings, but also the access for stuff like HRV measurement, which we'll come back to, also access to the map. This is also interesting now to mention. You can switch through the menus via the touchscreen. That is for the main menu where you have your sort of summary. It's working nice. I'm not sure it has much added value. However, the touchscreen is very responsive, and it's actually the first connected watch on which I have a touchscreen, on which I'm testing a touchscreen. It's working really well. I'm just not sure it has that much added value, at least for my type of use. I'm not using the map a lot, but the map works very well. The navigation works very well. If you're buying this watch for it, I think you're covered. So again, here Coros, good job with the touchscreen. I think it's a nice thing to have, not necessary, but it's a nice thing to have. 7, and this is also something that you need to know, is what would have been nice to have. And for me, this is streamed music and contactless payments. Streamed music doesn't exist here. Basically, when I spoke with Coros, this is not about a technical issue. This is mostly because, cutting a deal with some major music providers, online streaming services, is quite hard. Therefore, this is not necessarily something that we will see very soon on Coros watches. At least that's what I understood when I spoke with them last year. You can add some music here, but then you need to transfer the files and have them listen on the Bluetooth devices. That's fine. But I would prefer to have stream music on the watch and just be able to add, download, delete, whatever from the phone. Hopefully we'll see this coming someday on Coros watches, but this is not for the imminent future. Contactless payments, same here. Once you tried it, it's nice to have it. It's not a big deal because this is a sport watch. This is not a lifestyle type of watch. But this would be nice, and it's missing, so I think it's good for you to know. Now, if you don't want to miss further videos, further reviews on watches, shoes, and other endurance related stuff, click the like button, click the subscribe button, join us here on the channel. It's for free subscribing, it's also for free liking the video, and it really does help the channel, so thanks a lot for doing that. Next up we have HRV measurements, and this is something that I actually quite appreciate because I'm a Whoop user, so I'm tracking my HRV, I'm using it for training as well. Having this on the Coros watch is nice. The way you're using it, so putting the right hand fingers on the bezel is actually quite easy, and it takes 1 minute, it's fine. The only thing though is that I didn't see a high correlation between the numbers the watch was showing me and my Whoop numbers. Every time I used the HRV test with the watch, I had a pretty good score, even though I was fatigued or my Whoop was showing that I had a lower HRV, so showing that my body wasn't as recovered as the Coros watch would suggest. I don't know, are the variation very small, and then jumping from a very good score to a good score is actually showing you that you don't have a very good HRV? I'm not sure. It's supposed to have a range going from 0 to 100, and I was always above 80, which is a bit awkward, so maybe this is something Coros could work on, or maybe I was just using it the wrong way. Either way, I think having it is nice, and if you can make sure that the numbers actually correlate to your sensations, it's even better. Next we have heart rate accuracy, and for that I compared the native sensor on the watch to my polar arm sensor, the VeritySense, which is very accurate, so I'm pretty confident the comparison is relevant. No surprise, the HR sensor, optical sensor on the watch isn't as good, isn't as accurate as the arm sensor. It's not bad, and it actually surprised me. Even on the bike here on the indoor trainer, I had some good metrics until some point, and then it just crashed, and I think that's due to the humidity of the skin and also positioning and the movements of the arm and the wrist. But long story short, if you can use a chest strap or an arm strap, just go for that and don't rely too much on the native sensor. That's what I would recommend. GPS accuracy is very interesting on this watch because it has multi-band satellite signals. Basically, it can use different signals to track your position. So it's supposed to be very accurate, and compared to the Pace 2, which is actually already quite accurate, this was even better. I went underneath some highways, in some tunnels, I went in the forest. The forest was maybe the trickiest place for this watch, but underneath the highway in the tunnel it was actually quite okay. Underneath a railway in a tunnel it wasn't as good, but it was still okay compared to the Pace 2. And even on the track, compared to the Pace 2, both watches were in track mode. The Vertix 2 was a bit better. It showed my position more accurately when looking at the file. You have it on your screen. That's also a good moment to discuss Power accuracy, I compare the native power on this watch to my Stride Pod connected to the Pace 2. This watch underreports a little bit the power, but that's mainly due to the fact that my Stride Pod reports air power, so air resistance, and this watch obviously doesn't have it. So you get a few watts of difference between the two, but still, you know, the numbers are very, very similar and you can train with power with this watch without any issue. Price point, this watch comes at €699. I think in the high-end watches, this is a good price. Now, this is also a good segue to compare it against the Pace 2, which is more than 3 times less this price, coming at $199. Here, the main question is, what are you using your watch for? What activities will you be doing? How much of top, features you need? I think Pace 2 can work for many people. This watch will also be very nice for certain use scenarios. If you're just running and you're not using it for many other stuff, I think the Pace 2 is better and this would be an overkill. On the other hand, if you're using many features of this watch, $699 isn't that bad, isn't that expensive compared to some other top watches. Like for instance, the new Garmin watches, FENIX 7 and EPIX. How does it compare to them? Well, subscribe to the channel because I will be having comparisons between this watch and the new Garmin watches very soon. I believe the most interesting comparison would be against the FENIX 7, but the one I'm most interested in myself is against the new EPIX with the AMOLED display. Let's see, I will try to do these videos as soon as possible. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Enjoy your run, enjoy your ride, go beyond your limits, and most importantly, take care. Bye-bye.